There's a pattern in history that has destroyed three global superpowers in the last 500 years. And right now, in 2025, the United States is following that exact same pattern, stage by stage, decision by decision, almost like we're reading from the same script that led to catastrophe every single time before. In 1590, Spain was the richest empire on Earth. They controlled half the world's gold and silver. Within 80 years, they were bankrupt, a second-rate power that never recovered. In 1914, Britain ruled the largest empire in human history. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. Within 40 years, the empire was gone. In 1991, the Soviet Union was the other superpower with nuclear weapons and global influence. It ceased to exist in 900 days from economic implosion. 3 times, 3 superpowers, 3 complete collapses, all following the exact same sequence. And here's what should terrify you. The United States has already completed 5 of the 7 stages. We're not approaching the pattern, we're deep inside it. Before we go through the pattern, you need to understand what imperial collapse actually looks like. Imperial collapse doesn't start with invasion or military defeat. It starts with economic exhaustion. The empire extends beyond its ability to maintain itself. Military bases everywhere, wars on multiple fronts, promises it cannot keep, debts it cannot repay. At first, the decline is invisible. The currency still works, the military still wins battles. But beneath the surface, the foundation is cracking. Resources are misallocated, productive capacity shrinks. Then comes the acceleration. Allies start hedging, enemies test boundaries, the reserve currency status erodes, and suddenly the advantages that made you powerful become vulnerabilities. Your currency, once demanded by everyone, comes flooding back home. Your military, spread across the world, becomes unsustainable. That's not theoretical. That's what happened to Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union. They believed their power was permanent. They overextended militarily. They debased their currency, and they refused to accept reality until collapse was already underway. Let me show you the 7-stage pattern and where America is right now. Stage 1 is military overextension. Spain in the 1500s fought wars on 4 continents simultaneously. Half of Spain's revenue went to the military, and it still wasn't enough. Britain, by 1914, had to defend territory on 6 continents. World War I cost them over $40 billion, bankrupting the empire. The Soviet Union spent 15 to 20% of GDP on the military, triple what America spent, trying to match us everywhere. They were in Afghanistan, propping up Cuba, supporting regimes across the globe. The cost was unsustainable. Now look at America. We have over 750 military bases in 80 countries, troops in 150 countries. We're committed to defending Europe through NATO, defending Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, fighting in the Middle East, countering China and Russia. Our military budget is $850 billion annually, more than the next 10 countries combined, and it's not enough. We're stretched thin. Equipment is aging, recruitment is down. If China invades Taiwan, if Russia pushes into NATO territory, if Iran closes the Persian Gulf, we can't respond to all of it simultaneously. We're overextended, just like Spain, just like Britain, just like the USSR. Check. Stage 2 is currency debasement. The Spanish crown couldn't pay its bills with taxes alone, so they debased the currency. They started mixing copper into silver coins. By 1600, Spanish silver coins contained barely any silver. Inflation exploded. Britain tried to maintain the pound's value after World War I drained their gold reserves. By 1931, they abandoned the gold standard. The pound lost 25% of its value overnight. The Soviet ruble was never a real currency. Even Soviet citizens didn't trust it. Now look at America. In 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. The dollar became pure fiat currency. Since 2000, the money supply has increased 400%. Since 2020, we've printed over $6 trillion. The dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power since 1971. We're not mixing copper into silver coins, we're just printing unlimited paper. The mechanism is different, the result is the same. Debasement. Check. Stage 3 is the debt spiral. Spain declared bankruptcy 4 times in 40 years. Each time they promised reforms, each time they went right back to borrowing and spending. Britain, by 1945, owed more than their entire GDP. The war was won, but the empire was finished. The Soviet Union ran out of real money by the 1980s. They had to buy foreign goods with gold and oil because nobody wanted rubles. Now look at America. We owe $36 trillion. That's 120% of GDP. Interest payments alone are approaching $1 trillion per year. We're spending more on interest than on defense. We run deficits every year, $1.8 trillion in 2024 during peacetime in a growing economy. We borrow to pay interest on previous borrowing. That's the definition of a debt spiral. Check.
Stage 4 is loss of productive capacity. Here's what destroyed Spain. They had all the gold and silver in the world, and it destroyed them. Because when you have unlimited money, you stop producing. Why grow food when you can import it? Spanish nobility considered work beneath them. Manufacturing declined. All the wealth flowed to importing goods from other countries. By 1600, Spain was producing almost nothing. They were entirely dependent on imports. Britain lost their manufacturing base as the empire declined. The Soviet Union by the 1980s was rotting from within. Trust in the system collapsed. Now look at America. Trust in institutions is at all-time lows. Crime is rising. Homelessness is exploding. Drug overdoses kill 100,000 Americans annually. The best and brightest are leaving or checking out. Fertility rates are collapsing. Political dysfunction is total. We can't agree on anything, can't fix anything, can't build anything. The signs of decay are everywhere. Check. We're on stage 5 of 7. The Soviet Union made it to stage 5 before complete collapse. So did Britain. Stage 6 is loss of reserve currency status. That's when allies start diversifying, when trade moves to other currencies, when the dollar comes flooding back home because no one needs to hold it anymore. We're seeing early signs. BRICS nations developing alternatives, central banks buying gold, China and Russia trading in yuan and rubles, Saudi Arabia accepting yuan for oil. Spain's real stopped being the global reserve currency as silver mines depleted. The British pound lost reserve status after World War II. The dollar replaced it. Now the dollar is beginning to face the same pressure. We're not fully at stage 6 yet, but the cracks are forming.
Stage 7 is collapse, not gradual decline, sudden implosion. The Soviet Union went from superpower to non-existent in 900 days. Britain lost the empire in 20 years. Spain took longer, but the result was the same. When the reserve currency fails, when the debt becomes impossible, when the military can't be funded, it doesn't decline gracefully. It collapses quickly, brutally. And everyone who thought it couldn't happen here learns the same lesson every empire learns. It can, and it does. 3 empires followed this pattern: Spain, Britain, the USSR. Each believed they were exceptional. Each believed they were different. Each believed the rules didn't apply to them. They were wrong every single time. We're telling ourselves the same lies right now. We're different. We have technology. We have the dollar. We're America. But the pattern doesn't care about exceptionalism. The pattern is mathematical. You cannot spend beyond your means forever. You cannot maintain empire without productive capacity. You cannot debase your currency without consequences. You cannot avoid stages 6 and 7 once you've completed 1 through 5. The sequence is locked in. The only question is timing. Maybe we have 10 years, maybe 5, maybe less, but the pattern says collapse is coming. And when it comes, it won't be slow, it'll be sudden. A currency crisis that triggers a debt crisis that triggers a political crisis. Overnight, the superpower becomes a cautionary tale. Since 2020, we've accelerated every stage, printed more money, increased debt, extended military commitments, hollowed out production, fractured society. We're not walking the path anymore, we're sprinting down it, and the end is visible if you know the pattern. Here's what makes this different from previous collapses: the speed. Spain took a century to fall. Britain had decades. The Soviet Union collapsed in under 3 years once the cracks appeared. But America? We're moving faster than all of them. Technology, social media, global financial markets, everything happens at light speed now. When stage 6 hits, when the dollar loses reserve status, it won't take years, it'll take months, maybe weeks. The panic will be instant, the capital flight will be massive, and by the time most people realize what's happening, it'll be too late to prepare. This is the acceleration phase, the final sprint before the cliff. The elites already know. They're buying gold, moving assets offshore, acquiring citizenship in stable countries. They're not betting on American exceptionalism anymore. They're hedging. And if the people making the decisions don't believe in the system's future, why should you? Maybe we'll find a way out. Maybe America can do what Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union couldn't. Maybe we'll reform, rebuild, restore. Maybe this time really is different. But the pattern says otherwise. The math says otherwise. And history, which has watched empires die the same way over and over, says we're about to learn the lesson the hard way. So here's my question for you. Are you ready for what comes when we hit stages 6 and 7? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe to The Wealth Historian, because when the pattern completes, you'll want to understand what happened and why. The answers aren't hiding in the future, they're written in the past. Until next time, question everything.